Top number tells us how many beats per measure. Bottom number, what note receives the count or beat.
Two important keywords here. You ready? Listening. We got rhythm and we got beat. Do we know the difference? Think beat as a heartbeat, a steady pulse. Yes, in music and life, things ebb and flow and speed up and slow down. But for today's lesson, we're thinking steady. Rhythm is duration, which is long or short. That's important to know. What happens if we have a performance where the beat is just there with the rhythm, the groove, whatever kind of music you're listening to, the audience is loving it, it's nice and solid, it becomes a unifying, magical experience. But what happens when the beat is unsure? It slows down, it's jagged, it can become an unpleasant experience. So how do we get better at rhythm? Well, the first thing is we have to be aware of it and get into some good practice habits. So now the field trip. All right, awesome. We are starting from the ground up, which means we're gonna have a really good foundation so you'll be able to understand music better, and then many doors will open. Whole note, half note, quarter note. Since I'm American, I usually speak in that terms, but I'm so lucky I have viewers and subscribers in the UK, and most of the world will refer to a semibreve. Half note also is known as a minim, and then a quarter is a crotchet. I don't have a good British accent, I apologize. When I go ahead and write the notes here, I'm also going to include the rest equivalents, really important. And then the third important part is the beats underneath the rests, as well as the notes. So here we go with the semibreve. It's an oval, simple as that. And then the whole rest, it's going to look like this. And then we shade that in. We're going to write the counts in underneath, as we know we're in 4/4 time. And I want the beats to go through the whole measure. And then let's say that's a bar line, and then that's important because you want to internalize on what's happening throughout the measure, because music is like a river, it needs to flow. For the half note, just like the whole note, but now we add a stem. And then the count is 1, 2. The minim rest is the opposite of this. So that looks like a half note. So when I was a little kid, I would think of a half note, H, and then half rest, hat, if that helps. A lot of students get these confused, but through time, you get better. Quarter note is like a half note, but we shade it in, and that equals 1 beat. Now notice I'm writing the beats underneath, so I'm thinking vertical and horizontal. Vertical, how it outlines, and then the horizontal part, how the beats go through the measure. The crotchet rest, I can't draw very well, but why not, try now. The crotchet rest is 1 beat as well, and it kind of looks like this. I can blame it on the angle if you want, and that also equals 1 beat. Many times you think, oh, this is fast. Oh, that's a fast rest. Or if it's a rest, sometimes students will stop. You have to internalize the beat. Sometimes students would be like, well, that's not really important because I'm not playing there, especially if people who just practice piano on their own, new learners. That's really important. You don't want to skip ahead. So keep that in mind. Treat rest just as important as a written note. Sometimes we can get the piece down, but we don't groove, we don't get a beat, and we're really frustrated on how we sound. We listen back. What can we do? Well, we got to work on rhythm. So that's what we're going to do. Welcome to the rhythm playlist. We're starting right now. Hey everybody, what's happening? So this is a beginning rhythm exercise for everyone. We have exercise A, B, and C. I highlighted B because it's really important that you can see the vertical approach, meaning how the beat lines up with the quarter rest. So that will help you engage and feel the music. In this case, the pulse and the rhythm. Let's go.
I hope that helps. Keep practicing. Please take care.
So some of my viewers and learners have asked about rhythm, and I've been requested to build up a rhythm playlist. So here we go. You're looking at the rhythm at the top line, which is piano sound, and then beat. The whole note, remember, will sustain in this case for 4 beats. And then when we go down to measure 4, we can think of the eighth notes as 1 and 2 and then measure 5, the triplets. Everyone counts triplets differently. A lot of people will say 1 triplet, 2 triplet. So just really try to follow along and try to hear the clave sound, which is the beat, how it lines with the rhythm. 16th notes also is 1 E Anna. So here we go, and it will repeat. 3, 4, and. Hopefully that was helpful. Remember, this is really important foundation work. And think of the rhythm as long and short sounds like I did in the first video. You can see that the clave was really nice and even. Hope this helps. Until next time, please take care. Thank you. So let's take a look at the first measure, exercise A, in the blue box. We have an eighth note which only in 4/4 time gets a half a beat. So that's right, you'd only count 1. The quarter note equals 2 eighth notes. So that's why you see the 1 and 2 and 3, 4. You can do what I did as a kid years ago, is drill and practice, and that is a big part of learning. Repetition is a mother study. Jamie Abersol said that, wonderful jazz educator. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the count off, and happy practicing.
right, later I'm going to go ahead and try rhythm exercises at different tempos. If that was too fast for some learners, please let me know. You can also on YouTube, you probably know this, but with the settings, you can slow it down. Might be a little inconvenient. The rhythm part, I'm going to probably add flute because we want to make sure that we hear the duration throughout the beat. The piano decays a little bit. So keep working at it. Happy practicing. You can do it. Take care. We are going to go ahead and talk about a few things before we go and practice through it. One, look at exercise A. You'll notice the bar repeats there, and if you don't see them again, you just go back to the beginning. Sometimes you'll see them in a different measure. So from here, you go back to the beginning. Let's go to exercise C. 4 and 2. So 1 and 2. Hopefully that will be helpful. We will now start with the claves tapping 4 beats, and then you can practice along. If you're getting good at this, I encourage you to sing along as well. And you can also use left or right hand. You can go ahead and have that play the beat, the left hand, and then the right hand play the rhythm. That's good coordination work. And then vice versa. Here we go. All right, thank you so much. Let me know if it's helping out. They're going to get harder, and I'm going to add in triplets and different meters and all that stuff. Keep at it, and happy music making. Please take care. Rhythm and beat can be found everywhere in any type of music. It's crucial for every learner to understand how to internalize and subdivide, and that's what we're going to do with this exercise. Welcome, and we are starting right now. Work on subdividing, and I have 8 subdividing exercises, and before we go through it, I just wanted to explain a few things. Anyway, so exercise 1, let's look at the third measure, the blue box. The subdivision there, you have the 4 eighth notes because that's setting you up to internalize the eighth notes going into the next measure. I've noticed after decades of teaching, a lot of learners, when they think of a long duration, it's slow. But then when they see the double beam or the beam, 8th or 16th notes, oh, it's fast. And they don't associate that short duration with the beat. So the subdividing will help you assist. A good example is, let's go to exercise 2. And I'm going to go ahead, make sure you read vertical here. Your part is a half note and a half rest. And then on beat 4, there's a subdivision, the 16th for E and A. And you need to internalize that because you have the 16ths, the next measure, as you see. So that half rest, some learners might think you just kind of stop. No, feel the beat, internalize, get to the 16th note. This is really important when you're playing with musicians and there's a lot of hard parts going on, or maybe someone didn't practice, they're a little rusty and they could throw you off. So here's an example. This is the 4th measure in of exercise 2. You'll hear the shaker sound for the 16ths. Here it goes, for E and A. And that's your part. So leave a comment below. Let me know if this helps you, makes sense. I'm more than happy to re-explain things. Communication is important. All right, so here we go. From the beginning, there's tempo changes. Oh, I almost forgot, real quick. Exercise 4, there's no subdivision, and that's an 8-measure exercise. There's no subdivision because I want to see if you can feel it and hear it.
All right, I know you're saying about exercise 7, the last measure. I didn't want to put a beat in there because that's at a glance. A lot of times, I learned this from wonderful musicians decades ago, you turn the metronome off for a little bit and turn it back on to see if you're still keeping it. Because eventually we are the clock. We're the feelers and creators of music.
For anyone that has been involved in music, we all know it can be a frustrating process. So much to learn: rhythms, turns, notes, chords, so on. And if you learn in a chaotic way, you'll become more frustrated. Let's go ahead and end this frustration, learn by layer, and we are going to be looking at rhythm and ties, and we are starting right now.
Hey everybody, Jim here. Did exercise 6 make sense when I showed you the same rhythm tied and then not tied? Listen, tied notes can be tricky, and two things you can do: really think about internalizing, but if you're learning a hard part, take the tied note out first. Take it out, and then when you're ready, put it back in. That's worked for me for decades. By the way, are you getting value out of this content? I hope you are. I'm really trying to provide a great learning environment for everybody. So you know what we're going to say as content creators: go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. And if you subscribe, not only will it help the channel out, but I will pound out more rhythm videos pretty fast. So let's go to exercise 7.
Man, I got the notes down, but I can't get some of these dotted rhythms. It's so frustrating. I really need to figure this out.
Hello, wonderful learners. Welcome back. Jim here. So today it is about dotted notes and how to count dotted notes. We're not talking about articulation. We're not talking about dots underneath the note head, dots to the right of the note head. First things first, I think learners have a hard time with this because they might not understand the subdivision. So I have a rhythm tree video that can help you out with that. Just look at the physical part. Half note equals 2/4. If you can get the subdivision, that really helps you. Now listen to this phrase in regards to dotted notes. Add half the note's value to itself. Say it with me. Add half the note's value to itself. Let's begin. So if we have a half note here equals 2/4 notes, all of this, because my exercise is going to be in common time and 3/4 time, we're basing it off of that. We have now a dotted half note. So we have the 2/4 notes originally, and then we just take one more, and you have 3. It's as simple as that. We have 2/8 notes here. Now we have a dotted quarter note. We have 3/8 notes, and that is 1.5 beats. You got it? Leave a comment if you have questions so I can help. Now we have
an eighth note, which equals 2/16. We break it down, and then we have a dotted eighth note, which is now total of 3/16, which is 3/4 of a beat. Down here, I have written in the box, that's what we're looking at, we have 16 note subdivision, and we have one beam here, so that's a dotted eighth. It's connecting to a small double beam there, which is a 16th. So that would go 1 E and ah. So my snapping was where you would hear the rhythm, and then I was counting the subdivision. You can also think of it as ta but if you count it out, you're ensured to be an internal musician, and you can get this. This one is reversed. You have the 16th and then the dotted eighth. So that goes 1 E and ah. All right, so hopefully I didn't go too fast, but let me know. Let's go to the exercise. You can listen to it first if you wish. Some of the rhythms I did write the counts in so you can see it vertically. So let's do this.
Dotted eighth to the 16th, and I'm going to just go ahead and explain about this video so you have a better understanding, so you'll be able to look at music and create and learn songs that you want to. Alright, so when this video plays, you will see the red cursor, so you can follow that. The bottom staff here is just the beat, so you can go ahead and look at music vertically, see how it lines up, and then I do have some of the counts. Now I have a subdivision here. Beat 1 represents how you can internalize the rhythm here, so we have 2 and the but a dotted eighth, it's a dotted eighth because we don't have a double beam. It's a dotted eighth, so that means it equals 3/16. So it's a slow tempo so you can hear it, and this will help you play your music, your songs, pieces accurately. And then there's also the repeat. You can go down to this section, and I made this a little bigger because this measure is preparing you to understand these rhythms. So that's all on the Again, you can go through it and subdivide the dotted eighth rest, 3/16. And then I do a little mix up here. This rhythm I integrate from our first lesson to here, and the same thing goes on. And I'll scroll down a little bit,
And now we have this. We have a 16th first. You see the double beam, and then the beam goes to a dotted eighth. So that is a 2E. Right before that, I demonstrate the subdivision. We have the two accents here because this rhythm is very similar to this. Similar, but this has a longer sound. This case, you would have the 1 and then the E and So this equals 3/16. If this is confusing, make sure you see my first video on the dotted note rule. And then final, you have the mix-up where everything we've done in the lessons, you get to challenge yourself to see if you can do it. Good luck. Enjoy.
So this exercise is for new learners who are working on 16 notes or anyone that needs a refresher. I'm going slow and I'm going to give a brief explanation on how you count them. So this exercise we're either in 4/4 or 3/4 time. So 4/16 equal a beat. The notes going down show the subdivision. So this would go number 1, 1 E-N, 2 E-N, or sing the rhythm. Da, 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 da. Notice that's a little longer because it's an eighth note. Number 2 goes 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So that would be da 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 da. That dash there represents the eighth here equals 2/16, so it's a little longer. Number 3, which I love, that goes, here we go, 1E, 2E, 1E. So but da 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 da, again that dash representing that eighth note's a little longer because the eighth equals 2/16. Number 3, here we go, E and E and right after the beat goes E and E and 5 is reversed, 1 E and 2 E and. Yes, 5 is just like 1 except that's a little longer because we have a rest there, 16th rest. Number 6, go slow on this one, 1 E E E Now you can subdivide it like 1 E and 2 E and E and Number 7, here we go, 1 E, dot, 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 dot. I did leave maybe 1 or 2 out. One of them is reversed, and I will go ahead and erase that, and just so you know what to expect. This is later in the exercise. So we have an eighth rest and then 2/16. Here's the beat. And 1 E and E and Do you hear how I'm kind of subdividing quietly? That's important. So you got this. Happy practicing. Get this stuff down. It'll really open up a lot of musical doors.
Thank you so much for watching the video. If you are finding value out of this content, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out with future videos. All right, let's go over exercise 10 in the count. So it's fairly easy, but I want to point some things out that I've noticed that learners do, and that can throw you off with your music learning. First of all, measure 1, we have the 1, the and, 2, 3, and 4. Super easy rhythm used in so many different pieces and songs. Measure 2, 1, E, and A. And then I'm going to show you what some students do. They do 2, 3, and then they might do 4. All right, so that's sloppy, and the reason I'm being very detailed here is we're training our brains to not think about the pulse throughout the measure. So, as simple as it is, maybe it's just a few of the learners that I've run into, they do this. You want to go 2, and then 3, going through the measure, and then 4. So that helps us get the beats lined up correctly. Again, music's like a river, it needs to flow. We have 1, 2, and 3, E, and A, 4, and then the rest. Some students, by the way, skip rest. I think that rests are most important. They need to be observed, just like our notes. More on that later. 2, E, and A, 3, and 4. And also about the rest, some musicians have said this, it's not what we play, it's what we hear between what we're playing. In other words, how we're internalizing the phrases and feeling the rest. This rest is just as important as everything else. Keep that in mind. And it doesn't mean stop. That's another thing I've noticed over the years. All right, so exercise 11, not too hard here. We're just going to get rid of that quarter note. So we have 4 beats. 1 and 2, 3, 4. We're going to get rid of that. This looks good. 1 E and 2, 3, 4, looks good. Half rest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get rid of that. And then we have a whole note, looks good. 1, 2, 3, E and 4, and looks good. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. All right. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I got carried away with this one. What we could do is simple. Let's cross that out. We can go 1, write it out. If you're having a hard time, whoops, yeah, that's right. 1 and 2 and 3. Then we could do another quarter for 4, or you could put a half note. Or you could do a half rest, as long as you're catching. And when you buy music, sometimes there's engraver mistakes, and you'll see music that has extra beats or not enough. That can happen.